Hi, I'm Romina Escarihuela, an English, Portuguese, and Spanish conference interpreter born and based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I guess I've been a ProZ member for more than 10 years now, and it's a real pleasure for me to be part of this community. And if you are thinking about investing in this platform, I really encourage you to do so. When I started working as an interpreter, I decided to join first because I've got lots of resources with the glossaries and the queries that I could do and the questions that I could submit to the community. At that time, 10 years ago, I was working mostly as a translator, so it was wonderful to get more experience in working with ProZ at the time. And then I hit one of my most important interpreting clients through ProZ back in 2015, I guess. It was a multinational company that was looking for medical interpreters in the language combination of English and Portuguese in Buenos Aires, something that's very hard to find here. And well, I've been working for them ever since, now also remotely, not only in on-site events. And besides getting this wonderful client, I had the chance of meeting other colleagues who were looking, for other translators to build up a team. And those colleagues happened to be here in Buenos Aires as well. So it was a wonderful way of meeting other colleagues and start a new business relationship and getting a larger and larger network every day. So I really encourage you to do so. So, well, thank you very much for listening to my testimonial, and I hope to have encouraged you. And in case of any doubts, you can contact me directly. Cheers!
Hi, my name is Jakob. I'm based in Yerevan, Armenia, and I work from Armenia. I'm a translator and interpreter for over 15 years now, and it is for several years now that I actively work at ProZ.com, and currently I am a paying member at ProZ. I would say that one should become a paying member just appreciating everything this wonderful platform does for you. But it is certainly paying off manifold. The support, the timely notifications and warnings, the well-coordinated and friendly team working behind the scenes gives us translators and interpreters tons of opportunities to succeed. Dear ProZ.com and dear ProZ team, thank you for everything that you do for us.
Hi there, my name's Susie Withers. I'm a French to English translator based in the UK, and I specialise in translating online courses and marketing content. I first became a PROS paying member in 2020 when I started my business. And the reason I became a paying member was for full access to the Blue Board. I was able to use the Blue Board as a basis for my outbound marketing by identifying clients in my target countries, which were France, Switzerland and Belgium. I still use the Blue Board today if a new agency approaches me or if I see an advert from an agency, and it helps me in due diligence. Another benefit I've had from PROS is community. So I joined a Facebook group with PROS members and was able to start learning about how the profession works. What are people's concerns? What are the technologies? What are the processes people use? So that was really valuable. And also some of the online networking sessions that were organised during COVID enabled me to meet some colleagues who are now great friends.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever you are watching this. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to Language Talks. This is a first in a series of talks, which, well, really, this is an intro to the intro. Tanya Quintieri will be a little bit more specific in just a moment. But this is a series of talks where If you're a freelance language professional, I think you might find this interesting. You'll be able to hear from people both in and around the industry talk about what they look for when they are looking to buy language services, how they manage projects and other aspects on the buyer side of the thing. And I think it'll also be useful if you happen to represent a company who is either looking to get into localization or buying language services, or ramping up what your company is currently doing. This might be also a good source of do's and do nots, ideas, approaches for scaling that for your business. So I hope it'll be useful to everyone involved, everyone watching, no matter where you're coming from or looking to go. A couple of things up top. If you're not familiar with the interface, depending on the size of your screen, either to the right-hand side or below this video box, you will see a space for question and answer. Thank you to a bunch of people putting questions before the talk. So we've got those kind of queued up. But as you listen along to the discussion, feel free to add any questions or comments you have as soon as you have them in the question and answer box, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can at the end in the question and answer portion. A question that always comes up, I hope no one has typed it in yet. Yes, this event will be recorded. There will be a recording made available probably minutes after the event ends. This broadcast is being broadcast to everyone. There's no limit. Anyone can attend and can watch. The recording of the event will be made available to paying pros.com members. All right, so if you're already a paying member, you'll be able to come back and watch part or all of this at your leisure. If you're not currently a pros.com member, now's a good time to start. In the question and answer box, I've placed a link where if you're considering membership, you can start your first year of pros.com membership now at a discount on all three membership options for freelancers. So be sure to check that out. If you're interested in something like reviewing recordings of this event, of all the previous TV events and meetups that we have, you'll see those on the main page for these events, plus everything else you get in pros.com membership, your own cat tool. With the premium level, you also get your own AI translation companion tool, your own freelancer website. The list kind of goes on and on. It's kind of a ridiculously long list of benefits. You'll be able to see those on the page that's linked here. So without further ado, that was the intro to the intro. Now I'll give you Tania Quintieri, who will lead us into this panel discussion, and this first in the series of language talks. I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the very first language talks here on Pros TV. My name is Tania Quintieri. I am the program manager at pros.com. Thank you, Jared, for the introduction. And language talks is a brainchild of mine because I was thinking that there are so many freelance translators out there and interpreters who went straight from university to freelancing, and they never had a chance to actually work out in the general economy, whatever. They never got to experience what it's like to work in a company that buys translations. And so we came up with this concept. And my hope is that by eavesdropping into what our today's guests and in later episodes, other guests have to share with us, we can understand better what happens with the translations that we produce and how we can be better partners for our clients, be that through an agency or directly for end clients, as in today's case. Both our panelists are, they're not in translation agencies. And yeah, I really, really hope that you gain some insights that will help you with, writing or finding your voice as a freelancer to speak to direct clients. And perhaps if you have any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A section. We will get to those after our discussion here. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our panelists, Greta Kraxi. She's a lead localization. No, wait. I'm going to have you introduce yourself after this. But Greta from London, and Cynthia, she's with us from
Denver, Colorado.
Right, exactly. Both of you currently work in tech companies that have global presences, and you are going to share with us a couple of interesting things. So before we get into the first question, would you guys mind introducing yourself briefly, and then we'll get to it. Greta, you want to go first?
Yes, sounds good. Hi, first of all, hi everyone, and thanks Tanya for having me here. I am Greta Kraxi. I'm the lead for international localization projects at Index Exchange. So I oversee all localization projects within our Marcom team. And prior to that, I started off my career always within the localization space for a creative advertising agency. Languages and localization have always been a really big interest of mine since I was very young. And then obviously I cultivated that at university. I studied modern languages with translation, Russian and German in particular, which then led me to sort of start my career within the translation and localization field. So yeah, that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Cynthia, stage is yours.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia. I'm a localization project manager at Bold, and currently I lead our go-to market strategy. So every time we're going into a new locale, I participate on the selection process, the training process, and end-to-end localization of those new websites. I coordinate with all other stakeholders, all other teams to make sure we're following the deadlines. So it's a little bit different than we see in other companies, because in our case, it's more like localization-led, this effort, but it's not just localization, right? It's for the whole company. I'm originally from Brazil, so my language pair is Brazilian Portuguese and English. I started with localization as a translator, had worked for vendors, etc. So I know the struggles and the positive things of that. And yeah, I'm passionate about localization. I'm originally a sociologist. And so I always liked culture. Culture was my thing. And I always learned languages growing up, Spanish, French, German growing up. And when I found localization, I was like, that's it. That's my passion. It mixes culture with languages, and it was just perfect for me. So yeah, that's it about me. Thanks for having me, Tanya.
Cynthia, in a nutshell, thank you so much for sharing. Two small questions for both of you. I heard two terms that our viewers might not be familiar with. Greta, you mentioned Marcom.
Yes, marketing and communication team. Yes, so that's
Easy
where
enough.
I am sitting within my current role.
Okay, easy enough. And Cynthia, you mentioned vendors. Given that we have quite the diverse audience, might you elaborate what you mean by vendors?
LSPs.
Okay, so language service providers, or what freelancers would typically call the translation agency, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of agencies and freelancers, etc., assuming that both of you have worked with freelancers and agencies as well on the buy side, or you being the buyers of translation services, how do you guys manage your freelance translators and or interpreters? I don't know if any of you have worked with interpreters. Like, how does that work from your side? How do you find your freelancers? Give us the tea on that.
I can go first. At Bold, currently, we keep that within our department. So we're the people resourcing. Last year, we decided roles, and we have a project manager that is responsible for doing research and sourcing people on LinkedIn. We have another one that contacts and does the first interview, and then we have a final panel. Then they're onboarded with us. We don't go through an LSP anymore. Now we contract them through Talent Desk. So they are kind of in-house, but still a contractor. So they are not paying those vendor LSP fees. It gives us the opportunity to have a much closer contact with the linguist, to really nurture that relationship. We know what's going on their lives. We know when they're going to be available. It's a very good type of relationship that we have currently. So that's how we do our sourcing right now.
Okay.
On my side is a bit different. Obviously, like throughout my career, I've always worked with freelancers and translation agencies. So the way that I go up around the relationship with them in particular is the communication for me is key. So this is what I always start by building a relationship with them. So making sure that whenever I've got a request is always clear. There is a strong brief to the project, because obviously if it's not internal employees, like, the Cynthia example, then it's really crucial to have that sort of full package of reference material, of communication, of expectations of the type of projects that are going to be working on. And then, deadlines as such as well. So there is like a lot to consider, but to me, what's really key again is communication, like keeping that really transparent, really clear, making sure that I also check in with the vendors that I work with mid-project to understand if there is something that they need from me, if there is any questions, if everything is on track to meet the deadline as well. So anything like around that is really what's always been working well for me in order to build that relationship. And because it's external, obviously, vendors, also having a regular catch up, I find really important. So setting up monthly check-ins with the linguists that I work with, making sure that we discuss priorities, we discuss feedback as well. And one key point that I think, as you said, Tanya, this is also for people who are starting off in their careers as freelancer translators. And what I find that's very important is for me to ask them if they have feedback for me, for the workflow that I have in place, for anything that I can do to improve the relationship that I build with them. And I find that really sort of helps growing that network and that professional relationship with translation buyer in general and the freelancer or the translation agency as such. So this is my take on that based on my experience.
I second that. Yes.
Okay, I would imagine that there's quite some aspiring localization managers in the audience. Would that communication always happen via email, or do you mind if they pick up the phone, or do you sometimes pick up the phone? Like, what communication channels do you use?
Yeah, I think definitely email works best to begin with, but I am a strong believer in a good phone call as well. I do think that sometimes when you start off in your career, it is a little bit intimidating to call someone on the phone. Everyone has phone fear. I don't know if it's like something that you've also experienced, but it is a little bit tricky to begin with. But sometimes a quick conversation really sorts things out in a much smoother way. And then what's important, at least in my experience, is always put everything that has been discussed into writing as well, so that everything is set in stone and, the words can, they're not recorded. Of course, it's a phone call, so it's always better to have everything, any point of discussion, then summarized back in an email. But I would say definitely email is the easiest. If in my past experiences, in the agency side, I worked also with translation platforms, so the communication also occurred on that. But again, follow up via email, very easy, very smooth to pick up, and then calls, phone calls if necessary. The monthly catch-ups, of course, are on a sort of normal, regular meeting, and that really helps to build that face-to-face relationship as well.
On my side, I would say yes, email for sure. It's very important. We use email and Slack for daily communication and task assignments. And also, we try to have weekly check-ins for when we have big projects going on. Let's say it's a whole website that we're going to launch. I have weekly check-ins with all of those translators. It's basically like office hours, like if you're in college, that they can drop in, ask questions, what are the challenges they're encountering. I bring all the locales at the same time, so the question of one locale can be the question of another. And it works very well because sometimes one team thinks of something that is a roadblock for their team. When they explain that out loud, it can be the problem of another locale. So it's very helpful. And also it creates a bond with that, not just within the teams, but also within other teams across languages. And also, we always make sure when we have big projects going on that our linguists are having team meetings within their locale, on their own time zone, on their own language. We ask them to have that at least once per week to distribute tasks, to check on things that they disagreed, or to check on things that someone reviewed and I disagree on this. I need to talk to you about these choices you made. Let's finalize a decision and add this to our glossary, to our cheat sheet. So those are our key communication methods.
Both approaches sound like you as localization managers are really keen on building that, it's such an overused word, but team spirit.
Absolutely. Teams work best. Yeah. If you want good results, you need people to like what they're doing and like to work together and feel like they can trust each other. We want them to know that the other person from their team is not there to find mistakes on what they did, but to actually work together. If I miss something, I want you to catch that. It's not going to be offensive. It's going to be a problem. So we want them to become friends. And we have seen this over the years. They do become friends. We really care for them. We know what's going on their lives. They know what's going on their lives as well. So it's very cool to see that.
How does that change when you're not working with freelancers, but have the agency in between? I don't know if any of you have experience with that, but how does the relationship change?
Mm-hmm. I think in my experience, at least, it's really building a good relationship with the project manager that you work with. So I basically sort of see them the same way. Like if it's freelancer, linguist, or project manager that sort of bridges the communication between the linguist and myself in this case, it's still really important to build that trust and keep that communication the same exact way. And as Cynthia was saying as well, like the type of relationship that you build is also making sure that you show them the respect, that you understand what type of workload they have, and you understand their workloads and their schedules too. And you don't want to just sort of create that like loop of, oh, I need this urgently, I need it back now, and that's about it. No details shared, and so on and so forth. So, and it's the same with really like any translation agencies or of any kind. It's a matter of making sure that you have that relationship with the project manager as well.
Okay, makes sense. Let's move on to the next topic on our list. We wanted to talk a little bit about how you ensure quality, so the entire, quality assurance process and the technology that you use on your side, perhaps, if you use any technology. And I mean like CAT tools, or Cynthia, you already said you use Slack for communication, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be interesting to know, how do you use technology and how does that play into your quality assurance?
Mm-hmm. At both, we use translation management systems, so the TMSs and CAT tools to maintain consistency. And in our case, we use Localize and SmartCAT. And also we make sure that we have really good feedback loops and quality checks. Pretty much UAT, so user acceptance testing, is crucial for us. And this is like it's the cherry on top to ensure QA for us. So in the first step, we'll have the CAT tools catching whatever mistake, reporting inconsistencies. But then the final thing for us is actually usability. We get our linguists to go there and test our product, like if they were a user, and provide feedback and whatever they think it needs to improve. We divided this into categories, things that are an issue and things that are suggestions for improvement, and we act on both of them accordingly.
Okay. How about you, Greta?
Yes. So for me, as I said earlier, probably it's really important, first of all, to have a very strong reference material package to ensure quality, especially working with external vendors. So providing them with style guides for each, language that they operate with, and then terminology lists, do not translate lists as well are really important. So making sure that they are fully sort of up to date, to check to maybe quarterly even, to ensure that they have access to the very latest type of content. And then always played a very important role in terms of technology, more from a Q&A perspective, in particular, obviously my previous experience, but also now. So running copy through the CAT tool with a translation memory to sort of understand matches and see discrepancies, and where we can fix a sort of like this type of issues that come up. And another really important step that I've always found it beneficial is the internal review step. So call them brand guardian, call them just internal reviewers, but the concept sort of stays the same. It's about having native speakers of the target language who are also very familiar with the industry that they operate in, reviewing the copies and providing the right level of feedback. And the way I usually encourage the feedback is also by categorizing the type of issues that are spotted. So if it's a grammar mistake, if it's a terminology issue, that then goes back into the terminology list that we spoke about, so that it's up to date and there is consistency kept. So all of these to sort of give the linguists, so once I provide the project back before its final conclusion, as much visibility as possible on the type of changes that we want to sort of implement. And what I've always also found quite helpful is having sort of a final tracker, and in particular if I work with agencies where I don't necessarily have always contact directly with linguists, is having a tracker summarizing the main changes per project, so that the linguist can have it aside of their sort of term-based and translation memory. They have that built for them to spot any sort of amend or any sort of feedback in a very quick way. So like, I don't know, in this email or in this blog or in this whatever other asset it is, we change this word into this word. This is like something for you to keep in mind. It's obviously in the translation memory, but it helps to visualize that type of change in a bit of an easier way, because it's not as long and it's not as segmented as well. So yeah, I find these are my sort of best practices since I started working really within the field.
Mm-hmm. I would just add also documentation and training. It's crucial for this process and the cycle to just keep going and to keep maintaining itself and constantly improving. So we also try to constantly do training to improve this. Every time we notice that something's not going as expected, let's reinforce training and keep trying and give another chance. So this is something we do on our side a lot too.
Which is a question that I see a lot in different, social media groups that I'm in with freelance translators. I guess any translator who's worth their, is it worth their salt? I'm not sure. But, we're really self-conscious about negative feedback that we get, like when you have a file that comes back that has been seen by a reviewer, and like everything is full of annotations and comments and whatnot. What would you suggest that freelancers do in that case? Like, just be open about it with you, the client, or defend their choices. I mean,
if it gets to that point, if it gets to that point that we need to have a meeting and discuss this, we do that. But that's why we try to nourish that relationship between the linguist, the person that did the localization, that did the first pass, the translation, and the person that will be reviewing. We try to keep this between them, like over Slack or for email, for them to feel comfortable doing that. I don't need to see that full file and know that maybe you had 50 mistakes. They solve this within themselves. And then let's say if the reviewer, it's really encounter a lot of problems, we really need to address this topic. Okay, let me look into this. Do I need to provide more training to the person that did the localization? But this is very rare to happen. We really feel like this relationship, improving the relationship between the translator and the reviewer, really, it was what did the trick for us. They communicate between themselves, they solve everything, and it's just done.
Okay, well, sounds like a dream.
I do agree, though. I do agree in terms of nurturing that type of relationship. I think in my experience, what worked a lot and similar to you, Cynthia, is the having them meet as well, like the reviewers and sort of freelancer, if it's possible. Obviously, it depends also on the availabilities and stuff, but having that open conversation at least once, to sort of set the basis of what's going well and what's not going well. And then from there, what I also found it really helped in my experience is having the reviewers not just feeding the changes, but perhaps challenge the linguists as well. So like can be also a note for new linguists entering the market. Like if a client is leaving a comment of, can you please provide an alternative that has, that is more less literal, more elaborated, and obviously with a lot of guidance for the linguist to follow. I think this is actually a really good thing for the translators, because that gives them the chance to sort of own even more that copy and that type of feedback. Because what you were asking, Tanya, about what can a freelancer do if a copy comes back with tons of changes? I think it's always a bit tricky to sort of find the balance when this happens, but having that openness to at least provide an alternative. And if it's not, if you believe as a freelancer that it's actually what you wrote is right and it makes sense and it goes, I think having a rationale to support what you're saying is also really important. So if, and this is also from my past experiences, having English back translations and rationales around a certain choice in a paragraph or in a sentence really helps the client to understand why and trust you, because you are the expert in the end to sort of understand your linguistic choices. And then oftentimes the reviewer is the one that takes a step back and is like, oh, actually makes sense, and accepts and embraces the change a bit more as well. So I find that can also help a lot.
Yes, and also I would add the structure of the teams. In my case, we try to keep at least 3 linguists per locale, and we rotate them. So let's say for this specific project, you're going to be the person doing the localization, you're going to be the person doing the review, and you're going to be the third person doing QA. For the next project, we might invert them. And then since they are going to be on that different spot, it nourishes that trust, because if I'm super hypercritical of what you're telling me right now, when it's my turn, what's going to happen? But also with this structure, we always try to have a team lead that would be the final decision factor. So with 3 people, it's always, you need to have 2 on one side, right? So if they're having trouble figuring out how they're going to approach a terminology, if they're arguing about something like this, we have that last person to be the arbitrator and make the final call. And that's what I'm going to receive, that final call. So that's how we try to put that in place, to put a little bit of structure and to organize all of this.
Okay, makes sense. Yep. I just from my perspective as a freelancer, I always try to avoid being a reviewer because I'm very, very like short in my communication when it's about work. So more often than not, people think I'm like angry or I disapprove or whatnot, right? Because my responses will be really short. So yeah, I try to avoid that. But yeah, so I was probably that reviewer in the past who made people feel uneasy. Sorry to anyone I've reviewed in the past. All right. Let's move on to addressing localization challenges. Like, what are some of the most common challenges you face in your localization projects and how do you overcome them? Just so that we can understand what it is you're dealing with on your side of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think maybe I can start, but let's make this a conversation, of course. I think one is definitely timelines. I find within the translation industry, everything is fairly urgent and quite tight. So in my case, really, again, having this heads up as soon as I have an idea of what's in the pipeline for the sort of vendors I work with, providing them with the overview of what's coming up. At least a rough word count, it helps because it gives the idea of the volume, and even like the turnaround times. And what I find helpful is always ask of any blockers on their side, because this way sort of the communication starts very early. We can set up, alternatives if it's necessary, and this way I can meet both external and my internal expectations as well. This is one challenge. And I think another one I actually wanted to mention, and I don't know if you experience this, and I'm actually curious to hear your take, is when there is a change in the linguist. Like maybe you've been used to working with a linguist on a language for such a long time, and then they suddenly stop working, like, life happens or whatever. And then it's a sort of rebuilding that trust, that relationship, that level of quality that you've reached. It feels sometimes a little bit challenging, I guess, also on our side to be able to go back to it, because you've done so much work and then you're like, oh, okay, I have to sort of put myself back on it again. And I don't know, in my case, sometimes it helps obviously to have a very strong reference package and a lot of patience and coaching for the new linguist. So a lot of, again, prompting to provide alternatives, provide really effective feedback. So why are we not using these? Why are we want them to rephrase that? So like really give them every reason behind it, almost each change, unless obviously it's a grammar thing that it's obvious, but really that helps. But I'm curious to understand if you also have other approaches to that, because I do find it quite an interesting challenge within the localization field.
Mm-hmm. That's a good topic, and it touches my topic too. First, timelines. I think that's a given in localization and project management in general. We have been getting pretty good on that, and as always, it goes back to communication. Both issues, I feel like having a very close communication and open communication with product, which are usually the department we're servicing the most. I'm blunt with them and I let them know what's going on. And a lot of times, one of the issues we have, and this touches the topic you mentioned, one of the common issues we have is when we have someone in the company that speaks that language, right? That can be a frequent challenge too, right? Everyone wants to have an opinion on language. And the way we have been trying to overcome this is with open communication and explaining how we have a team for that locale, and it's not one person's opinion. We have a team of experts in that locale. They're making a team decision. It's not product word against localization. This team has been put together for a reason. They're experts and they're in this field. They collaborate together. They have been doing years of research on our products. They see end to end, and they are the authority to make that call. And of course, we're open to discussion. Let me know what's your opinion. Let's figure out if we need to change terminology. But also, it's about having that communication with our stakeholders and explaining. We have this team, they have this expertise, and we have a process in place. Let's say if you disagree, this terminology is not looking good. We have a system in place to catch that. One of those three will catch this throughout the process. Something that really happens with this, let's say our linguists work in our CAT tools. Then they do the localization, the second person does the review, and then this is implemented in lower environments, and then we can go and start testing. But then during that moment, before I send to the third person to take a look what has been implemented, often a product manager gets to see that first. And let's say if they speak that language, they're like, I don't like this. It's not good. And it's a process of constantly reminding them of the processes that are in place. Someone will notice this and will make the change in our CAT tools, and this will be live tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Let us go through the steps. We will catch this eventually. So it always goes back to that open communication of product, reinforcing processes, revisiting, and it touches on another topic that is when we have like you mentioned, Greta, you mentioned if we lose a linguist, if they are moving on, they're going to go to another company or something happen, and we need to start retraining someone to take over that. I started to let them know. I'm letting our stakeholders know, hey, this is going on. You speak the language. I need you to help me with this. This person is being trained. It's the first time they're going through this. They're going to do mistakes. We can expect on that, but I need your help to help us solve this. I need your feedback so they can improve and they can get to the same level that were used with our previous linguist. So I'm involving them in the process. And I feel like if people have ownership of that, they react to things differently, right? So that's how I'm trying to take care of that problem.
Okay, thank you so much for your insights. I have 3 questions for you that just while you were talking, we just need short answers. Translation skills. From what I've heard now, we've been doing this now for, I think, 25, 30 minutes. Translation skills are not necessarily the number one. Well, it is an important aspect when you decide to work with somebody, but it's definitely not the only one, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right. From what both of you have said, I get the impression that you are very much not looking for just or looking to work with people who just blindly follow orders, but someone who you can work with on an eye-to-eye level or with whom you can see eye to eye.
Yes.
Stand their ground.
Yes. And this is something that even like you need to train new project managers to be comfortable with that, because the way we build our teams and the way we want them to voice when they're seeing something wrong, sometimes it comes across as a challenge, a personal attack sometimes. And we need to be comfortable with that and be able to manage these confrontations. This is not correct. We need to look into this a little bit more. So yeah.
Yeah.
And having the chance to really back what they're saying, like
yes.
from a linguist perspective. So again, rationale really, for me, works to sort of prove also to internal reviewers who are not necessarily linguists why we're doing these and the reasons behind it.
And that's exactly what adds so much value to what we're doing. I feel like I have delivered so many websites that use the same source, and we did that for multiple languages. But sometimes we start doing a new locale, and that team noticed something that 10 teams didn't notice previously. And it really confronts the whole way I was handling something or the way we handle our products to begin with. So I need to go back, put a presentation, discuss this with product. Maybe we have been doing this wrong all along. Let's look into this. So it's really about being comfortable with this type of challenges.
Love that. Third question. When you want to work with a new linguist, what is the number one soft skill that you look for in a potential candidate?
Only one? That's a hard one.
Good question,
Maybe clear communication.
I was going to say the same. I literally was going to say the same. Yeah. Soft skill that seeing already how they approach you as a potential client and how they sort of handle that type of communication with you. It's really the first type of thing that you notice, and then obviously you do test translations and things like that. But before really that is really about person, like it's there is that human element that we always need to take into account.
She said the human element in the midst of this crazy revolution.
I know.
I love you for that. Okay. Right. Back to the program. From your point of view as localization managers and maybe thinking of your peers in this industry, what do you think is the impact, or let me rephrase the intro to this question. My hope is that Language Talks has a really varied audience, from obviously freelancers selling translation services, but also maybe, project managers in agencies and other localization managers like yourself who work directly for the buyers, but also perhaps companies that are just now, thinking about going global with their communications or adding a second website, a second language to their website, etc. So my question is, from your point of view, from your vantage point, if you want, what is the impact of localization well done on a business's success? Is it as important as us freelance translators like to believe, like to claim? Is there wiggle room for maybe localization that isn't done 100%? What's your take on that? And of course, my question is also about, does it pay off in localization to cut corners, aka using unchecked machine translation or AI output, whatever? Yeah.
I think it really depends on the end goal. But on our case, I can say from experience and from our numbers, having that human element really impacts conversion rates. It really makes the difference. Our websites that have been localized end-to-end in a full approach, at once, the same team working on every single step, every single page, and testing everything, those are the best websites, the ones that convert the best. So it makes a difference for sure. And I feel like it really depends what is the goal of the company. Let's say if you just need to enter the market quickly, you just want to have that shelf space and you're willing to go with machine translation because you just need to get this done by the end of the week, it's one thing. But I feel like if you really want to deliver quality, if you want to make sure you're getting the best results, the highest number of conversion rates for users, you have to go with humans, at least in the final moment, to check that everything is working and that everything connects well properly. Because we can have all this technology, which is great and extremely helpful in so many aspects, but when all the pieces are together, only a human can determine if that really functions well. Mm-hmm. So that's my take. Yeah, I see the human value, and that's what I stick with.
Yeah, I must say I'm extremely aligned with your thoughts. I agree 100%. I do think, again, that it really depends on the company sort of end goal, as you said, really. Like, it can be a quick one, it can be like a much deeper sort of approach to localization. But that human element, and I say that again, Tanya, for your joy, is really fundamental, because of course AI is very much developed, we all know, and it's such a hot topic nowadays in localization as well. But there is that cultural sensitivity that a person living in the kind of target country, speaking the target language, being a native speaker, and being an expert, so translator, linguist in general, that is unmatchable. Like, you can't get that from a machine, and that's when really I think that difference is really made, when there is that final check. So as you said, Cynthia, it's the same as me. Like, if AI is used, if there is machine translation involved, there is always that human check check at the end, because you can't really just entrust blindly to sort of post something on your website or whatever it is, without having that sort of green light. Because we all read stories of how localization gone wrong can impact businesses heavily. In different areas, in different marketing campaigns or whatever companies work on. So it's really crucial to always be mindful of that and that cultural element. And I would also add, for me, in my experience as well, cultural checks, like doing this sort of analysis before building a campaign, for example, in a certain market. They are really they've always been very helpful for businesses to make sure that when they had a certain type of campaign in mind, they went to the market prepared and equipped well enough to sort of then start building step by step, maybe not everything all at once, especially, if you don't cut corners, it takes more time for sure. But that's where sort of it pays off in the long term. At least that's my view.
So good translation still has a fantastic, or good localization still has a fantastic return on investment.
Yeah, I do believe so. Yes.
I was going to say that, put that out there. All right. I think that's about all the time we have today. This went so fast, and there's still a million questions in my head, and I'm sure the audience has quite a lot of questions. I think we're going to take about 10, max 15 minutes for the Q&A. So, but let me thank you already. This was super enlightening, and I don't know. Maybe I'll have to invite you guys again. I don't know. But if you have any closing words, be it for our freelance members, be it for fellow project managers or localization managers out there, now is your chance.
I can go. Thank you for inviting me, Tanya. Nice to meet you, Greta. I feel like even if Tanya had planned, we wouldn't have aligned that much if we knew beforehand. But yeah, what I would like to say to everyone is about the human value in our industry. I feel like in this past year, we have been hearing so much about AI, and there's so much fear of what this can mean for the industry. But I feel like humans aren't going nowhere. We're still needed. It's still important, and it makes the difference. Some companies might change the processes, might eliminate the upfront work that humans have, but that final work, you're still much needed. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Yes, so my turn to close. So again, thanks, Tanya, for having me. It's been super valuable, and Cynthia as well, because I really love to hear also other people's insights on these. So my closing words, let's say, to me, aside obviously of the human element that we talked about, that obviously I value as well, one piece of advice that I would say that sort of applies to everyone, like new freelancers, current freelancers, project managers and all, is really don't be sort of afraid of asking questions when you're working on copies. Like, it's really important not to assume that you're understanding something and then sort of come up with, let's say, a translation that you think might work or not. It's like, as project managers, love questions about the source copy. We really want to give as much information and as many tools as possible to you to be able to perform, because successful freelancers and agencies is a success for a client automatically. So that's really important. And the same goes for project managers, like ask questions, really coach and train your freelancers, because they're still part of the team, even if they don't work necessarily within your company. So that's really important to me. And that's it. So thanks again. It's been really, really insightful and great to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much, ladies. It's been my pleasure. And I guess we can get Jared back in now with the questions from our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Give me just a second here, and let's get our panelists in. Here we Getting there. All right, Tanya, Cynthia, Greta, can you hear me okay?
You're a bit
Yes.
quiet, but
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
A
a
bit
bit
quiet.
quiet for me as well.
I've heard that before. I'll try and speak up a bit. Great. A lot of really good, interesting questions and comments on this discussion. So let's get kind of straight to it. Maybe towards the top, I noticed a lot of questions coming in from people who are either new to the industry or seem to be considering becoming part of the industry. So maybe there's some basics that you can help us define up at the top. Several people asked, for example, what's the difference between translation, localization, and let's throw transcreation in there as well. Can you kind of give us a brief idea of what exactly we're talking about with those three? Or with localization and transcreation, at least, versus straight translation?
Yeah, I would classify translation as a straight A to B. This means exactly what you're saying there. Localization, I would say that when you were adapting culturally, it's more tailored for the locale. And transcreation is when you involve that extra level of marketing. You really have to change that source to make sure things are resonating with the locale even more. For example, a marketing email, when you mention, oh, this cost only would be the cost of a little coffee, right? That's not something relatable in every locale. So that would be the transcreation. If for India, you mention tea, for example, oh, this is going to be chai. So this is my take on the differentiation there.
Good. That makes sense. For me, transcreation was a term I had to Google every time it came up for a long while before it started to sink in. Let's see. Along with the newbie sort of question, what would be your best advice for someone who's looking to get started? I mean, if they want to eventually work for your companies, how do they get started?
I can take this to begin with. So I think if you're new to translation in general and to the industry, what's really important is make research, do research. Don't be shy to reach out to people as well on LinkedIn, in your network, because that's when, yeah, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but that's when sort of the first step is made to sort of understand, like, hey, I've got a degree in translation and these are my skills. This is a project I've been working on in university. Would you be interested in seeing more? Like, it's little steps like that can help you from the very beginning to build a network. And when I started myself, I wish someone told me that and gave me that sort of extra push to do it, because it's really hard at the beginning to find your way in this industry. It's busy, there are lots of people, but people are here to help as well. And as long as you have potential clients and you see people seeking for translation opportunities, then it can be a good starting point, at least, for that. Yeah.
Great. Tanya, if you want to, jump in with questions, feel free. I don't want to, if I'm doing okay, then I'll just plow right on ahead. Translation degrees, someone asked about that. We know that in the industry, some people have a degree, a lot of people don't. Do you guys look for that sort of thing when you're evaluating candidates? Is there something you look for that maybe would take priority over that or replace that in some cases?
Yeah, if you want to go first, Cynthia, I'm fine. I'm just thinking, like, I've got a translation degree and I don't work as a translator, so it's not necessarily the only type of things that we look at. But Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a deal breaker. I think we always look at resumes, right? That's a nice to have, of course, but you need to have like a package. Soft skills are also crucial. The way you're gonna interview, it's gonna be very important too. And I think this correlates with the past question. I think the number one thing is to like stay hungry, keep learning. Not necessarily you need to go and get that formal education, but there are plenty of courses out there, classes that you can be taking. There are a lot of things in the industry, and localization has so many different paths. I feel like something I wish people have told me in the beginning. There's no formal route. You can create your own path in localization. You can be the one that is more focused in translation, the one that goes more into project management. You can be within project management. You can be dealing more of the translation part of it, the localization aspect, or you can be more involved in product. That's my case, for example. And that's my advice. Stay hungry, keep learning. That's key in life, right?
Right. Would you recommend people specialize? I mean, to what you're saying, is it better in the long term if they specialize, find a niche, or?
I think so. Yes. Mm-hmm. I think it's good to be a generalist in the same way that's good for a project manager, but it's also very good to have that area, the specific area that you are very into. Let's say I'm a legal PM, or I'm a legal translator, or I'm more into marketing. I do all this transcreation. This is a selling point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good.
And I can may add, sorry, to that. I think also having a portfolio of the sort of projects you've been working on. Like personally, when I look for talent, having an example of what the person has been working on to sort of have an understanding of their type of, as you said, expertise as well, and commitment and types of projects that they've been focusing on. That's really helpful for a potential client to then, talk about a role and so on. So that too.
Good. Yeah, there were a couple of questions about how to present what you have to offer. Should it be a CV? Should it be a portfolio? Maybe should it be a mix of everything, or no?
Yeah, I think
I'll take
I
this
think
one.
there is no harm. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think there is harm in mixing. Like, I think having a strong CV and a portfolio of projects that someone has been working on is a good combination. It shows variety, it shows different skills. Obviously, the CV is sort of the presentation card, that someone gives, but then an additional step with your projects, your main projects, then it's a good one to have as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I second that. I was gonna say, since my company focuses in resumes and cover letters, that's for sure our focus. I feel like our industry has the opportunity to create a different format of resumes. I was having this conversation during some interviews last week for Romania. In Romania, they have some very specific resumes for localization, very different than what we see for regular careers. So maybe that's the future of where we're going. People to really detail on their resumes. I'm an expert in transcreation or in legalese, or this is my focus. That's what I do. Website localization, or a focus on QA. People are really adding all this information to their resumes to showcase what they have been doing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Let's see. Someone else asked, going back to the newbies thing, when you're screening candidates, do you consider beginners, or do you say, no, this person minimum needs X amount of experience before I'm going to consider them?
Both are doable. We have done both. It really depends what is the end goal, what is the project that they're going to be working with. Our localization department, we're very much willing to train people. A lot of times we hire people that don't have QA experience, for example, and we provide full training so they can adapt to our style of doing QA to things. So it's not a deal breaker for us at all.
Great.
I'm just gonna add. throughout my career, I've been working with different level of linguist sort of experience. It's not an issue to work with beginners. Obviously, as Cynthia said, and I agree with that, it really depends on what the company is looking for in terms of expertise and level of maturity within the role. So, but that shouldn't stop again, beginners to show up and to reach out, because as I said, that's still a first good step into the market, and it's a first opportunity to showcase what they're doing, no matter what, in my opinion.
Great. In the discussion you had, you kind of addressed the AI issue, which is, a lot of us are up in arms or up in something about it more recently. The importance of having that human touch or that human element. In terms of AI, what, if any, if you can share this, AI have you applied in the work you're doing so far? I mean, is it changing the way you do your work?
I personally don't use as much, to be honest with you. So I work mostly just with direct freelancers or translation localization agencies. So I do value a lot that human element that we've been chatting about. For me, it's really important. So my sort of like automated types of, especially for the type of content that we produce, that is still obviously technical as well, even if it's marketing, being a not tech company. So it really requires that level of expertise that we trust in human linguists more than anything else. But yeah, that's my so far take. Yeah.
Cynthia?
We're not using to its full potential yet, but we have been trying to integrate as much as possible. We try to take advantage of all the AI suggestions and cat tools, have been trying to learn how to integrate more into project management and make some things more automated, but it's still all trial. We're trying, right? We're testing and figuring out.
Yeah, I think a lot
To that end, Cynthia, I would like to add something to your question. Are you doing that? And I don't mean this in any negative way. Are you doing that to cut costs, or are you doing that because your volume of content is increasing?
I would say volume of content is increasing. Is it my audio a little bit weird?
I can hear you.
All of our audio seems a little bit metallic.
Okay. So yeah, because of the volume, it has been increasing, and also to stay up with the trends of the industry. That's the number one reason we're doing.
Okay.
We're about out of time. Let me see if I can pick just one more question before we go. Kind of AI stuff.
While you look for one more question, I'm going to add something, Jared.
Good.
If a freelancer has experience in working with AI or machine translation, or has experience in training MT, having that on their CV, does that make them stand out? Or in other words, is there merit in learning how to leverage these technologies and then, putting that on the CV and taking that out to the clients?
Not necessarily because it's AI, but I would say if I see that you're trying to educate yourself, you're trying to learn, I see that there is a new certificate on your resume, that is definitely a plus for me if you're trying to stay current.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think having that extra, no matter what it is, really it's good. But also, in my case, for example, because as I said, AI is not something that I'm actively using. If someone is trained, I'm more than happy also to learn from them on that side and sort of As I said in my also answers, like I see freelancers as part of my team, even if maybe I don't necessarily have every linguist working internally at the company. So it's good to build that relationship and exchange that knowledge and skills as well.
Yeah, there was a question slash comment about that, and stating that maybe in the past some years ago to state on your CV, yeah, I work with machine translation, was kind of frowned upon. Maybe that's kind of changing now, or maybe not. To state, yeah, I'm leveraging certain technologies, and that's making me faster, more efficient, that sort of thing. There might be doubt out there about, should I tell, how much should I tell the client that I'm leveraging these new technologies? I think that's a common question nowadays, especially, right?
I feel like that's a great comment. I agree with that comment. Yes, I feel like it's perceived nowadays as a positive thing. It represents that you are a person that's willing to adapt. You are trying to stay current. You are trying to learn new things. I see that as a very positive thing right now in the industry, and I see that as a plus. Not necessarily because it's AI, but because you're trying to stay current.
Yeah, I'm aligned as well. Definitely.
Great. Well, okay. I think we can wrap things up there. Thank you very much for the time and the expertise, the insight. I had fun listening to this. I hope everyone else out there did as well. If not, what's wrong with you? But thank you, Greta. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Tanya. Is there anything you want to leave viewers with before we go?
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
This topic is always
definitely
great. And Tanya, let us know when the next one is. That's set up.
Yeah, guys, look out for the link for the networking so that we can discuss what we've learned from these beautiful two human beings. Made sure that we understand that the human element is still very valuable.
Right.
And yeah, see you over on Remo.
Yeah, if you're watching still, stick around. As this event ends, you'll see a link to join the networking session, where you'll be able to speak face to face to other attendees from the event and kind of network, talk about what you learned here, further questions, kind of dig deeper into these different topics there. Okay, that will appear on your screen shortly. Okay, ladies, thank you very much. I'll let you go. Thank you, and looking forward to doing something like this again relatively soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Great. Bye. Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.
All right, that was Tanya, Greta, and Cynthia. As I said, we'll be starting the networking session now. If you've stuck around till now, thank you. Be sure to pop into the networking session, and I will see you in the next TV event.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam Macri and I come from Italy, from the south of Italy in particular. Well, I work from English and German and also Spanish sometimes into Italian, and I'm a translator, interpreter, and copywriter. Thanks to PRODS, I got a lot of benefits. Networking with colleagues, but also I got also the possibility to do mentoring meetings with young people who are trying now to approach the market. I love the blue board in Prods because it gives you the possibility to check if the possible leads are suggested or not loyal at all. Well, I think that Prods also gives you the possibility to do a lot of things. Invoicing, for example, but also finding for new job opportunities and new customers. I got different customers thanks to Prods, and I'm still collaborating with them. I'm specialized in business, automotive, tourism, and more. Well, I suggest to everyone to join the Prods network because I think that this is a good opportunity to grow for you both personally and professionally. Even because Prods gives you a lot of tools that of course can just improve the quality of your translation services, but also not just translation services, but language services in general. So I hope you can join our network and see you soon. Bye.
Hello, my name is Adrian. I'm a German translator from Switzerland, currently working with a beautiful view in Hungary, in the countryside. I am a long-time Pros member already for many, many years. Especially in the beginning, it really helped me out immensely to get my career going. Nowadays, I don't spend that much time on the platform itself, but I still do benefit from especially 3 benefits massively. Number 1 being paid members get ranked higher in search than non-paying members, which means a lot of people contact me through the website, and I can then see if this is actually beneficial for me or not. Number 2 is invoicing. I use their invoicing tool every month. Beginning of the month, I write my invoices with Pro's invoicing tool. It's perfect. I feel like it's tailored towards translators, and I use it every month. And number 3 are the training resources. For the membership price that you pay anyways, you also get a great resource for training, for especially in the beginning when you don't have that much work yet. You can really spend a lot of time on there and just do all the trainings, all the courses for free, basically included in the price. And also if you're a seasoned professional, there's always something, workshops, webinars, interesting things happening. So these 3 things are the main reason why I really enjoy paying for Pro's membership. And I think it's great for any translator out there, so highly recommend it.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to tell you a bit about my experience with the pros.com membership. It's just been so valuable, both as a way to establish my professional profile on a website that is really known to attract great clients. It's also a great place to interact with my fellow translators, keep up on continuing education through the webinars or other online training options. And there are also so many other tools from ChatGPT now to cat tool licenses being hosted, as well as just my go-to tools such as Pro's Blueboard, which I always check whenever I get an email from a new client. The pros.com value is just amazing, and I've been a committed member for the past 15 years.